Well, I got a free trip to Japan, there and back, paid by the US government. It was a very nice trip when I was in the army. Free trip, like, you know. So we went from Fort Polk, Louisiana to San Antonio, Texas, to Denver, to Seattle, to Tokyo. And I lived there for 3 years in the U.S. Army. I worked there in the U.S. Army hospital. And since I already, you know, I grew up in Ireland with Gaelic, all my education was in Irish. Because I think I might have mentioned some of you during the occupation, Irish was forbidden to be spoken or written. And 1949 we became independent. The country got divided. One part became republic, and the other side continued to be a part of England. So that was the beginning of Gaelic coming back. If you go to some of the islands around Ireland, that's where Gaelic was more preserved, or some of the peninsulas. And then English was kind of added on as like there was no interest in teaching English or using the words English. So actually, my legal name is John. So I use people with two names, Irish people written differently, you know. So for example, like Murphy, Omar Coo is really the Irish name. There's no such thing as a name Murphy. Kelly would be O'Calcon. And so these are, so the names, how they became like that is when England moved into Ireland, they went around to, everybody had to be recorded. And they just wrote the name the way it sounded. And that's how names sort of became like that. You know, so the original, because since we couldn't speak English or we couldn't pronounce it, and we never seen the Roman alphabet until that time. So I came to America, and I, you know, sort of like, I think like most immigrants, you know, I was working as a laborer, working in construction. It's easy to get work in construction. I started doing painting, learning how to brick laying, or I don't know how you say it, or running a wheelbarrow. Yeah, that's an artwork. You know. Picking up pieces of wood, you know, so all kinds of jobs you can get. And then on weekends you can clean windows, you know, because that's when, you know, the people are not in the building, so you can clean the outside and then clean the inside. So there was all different jobs people were doing, you know. So I joined the army. They sent me out to Japan, and I lived there right outside Tokyo. And I was also I was involved in athletics, running, and met Japanese runners and started to travel around with them, from the very northern to the very southern, and got really good with Japanese language. What I liked about Japanese is when you Romanize Japanese, it's very easy to pronounce. It's actually easier to learn than Irish, and because like Tokyo means eastern capital. Kyo is sort of like, you know, city. To means eastern capital. Put the two together, it means Tokyo. So learning Japanese, I could get around. And I would deliberately go to places where there was no, there was only kanji. And there's these things called in Japan, in the train stations, there was this little place you could stay. You just get a bed and a bathroom, and then you live off of the air for the rest of the day. And so I would take off to these places, and I got to know the place very well. I got very involved in Japanese athletics, and it was a very great experience in that way. And then you know, once you got to know the families, you get invited to the weddings, you get brought into when somebody dies, and it certainly was, if you've ever been to a cremation, it's completely different than anything I'd ever seen. So, and then I went to Korea, I was up at the DMZ, you know, between the north and south, and the Philippines. So I was both doing my job in military, and then I would get invited. Like I was invited to the Philippines to run in some track meets and other places like that. Yeah. So it was sort of like living two lives kind of thing. And really enjoying the whole atmosphere. Got back to the States here in Oakland, Army Hospital, and started going to school in San Jose. It was just, they had these courses called English for Foreigners. It's a great course to take, I tell you. I repeated it 5 times before I could pass it. And sort of like, there was things like, you know, the A before goes the E and the E before goes the I and all that kind of carry on. You know, and so there was a fellow from China and I, we were trying to figure out, and so we would do this kind of thing, you know, and we would, well, take your pick, you know. We were both, there was a guy from Mexico too. We were very creative in how, well, you know, it could, well, maybe it's over here. And then the teachers would, they would put the area lights, and it was, you know, we knew what was going on. And, so that's, you know, you sort of like, the thing in Irish, it's very good for you to actually make mistakes. Like if you buy a new car, go and put a scratch on it. And then you can really enjoy it. So, yeah. And this was kind of the same thing, you know. This was like just helping out the teacher, like to be a little more flexible in life. You know. Contributing, you know, to mindfulness thinking. You know. And it became very delightful, you know, meeting different teachers. There was this one teacher that she was absolutely fantastic. She had a way for teaching English that made it like this kind of story, you know. I think it was the 3rd time I'd taken the class, and she made a mistake. She put me down pass. It was like pass fail. So the semester started, and she says, I ran into it, and says, oh, where are you going? I said, I'm going to my next class. She says, why are you going there for? Well, you passed me. She says, no, you didn't. You failed it. And so even though she was really nice, she had the guts to tell me, no, you have to go back and redo it again. You know, so this is like the 4th time. So, you know, before you go to English 1A. So you can imagine, like, keep going. You know, like, it's supposed to be a 2-year school. Well, I kind of turned into a 5-year program, you know, and so it was helpful. Why I say this? Because I just wanted to kind of give you a background a little bit to following along. So when I went to Asia, I was so impressed with the way people spoke English and the way they were interested in what's called conversational English, just hearing the word, how they wanted, just to hear it. I was really amazed that somebody in Japan who never left the country of Japan could speak English just like, I think they would just spoke it better than I did. It was just very impressive. So I want to just bring a few things to your attention. In Asia, and you know, Asia runs from western India all the way up around Pakistan, around into Japan, North and South Korea, Philippines, all of these places. And then you've got what's called the South Pacific Islands. Each one of those islands are completely separate from one another. Each of them have their own unique cultural way for doing things. Even though they're kind of all thrown together, they're all different. All have their own unique little way for talking, customs, etc. Over hundreds and thousands of years, different groups came in, different groups took over, different groups changed in that way. So, when your client comes to see you from Asian country, the most impressive thing you give them is your manners. Why that? Because it's very important there. Manners is very important. Manners mean that you have a presentable presence about you. You know, you look like you know what you're doing. You are dressed to represent who you are, and all of those entities. And manners is the pace you take with that point. Manners is like if you are invited out for dinner, they pay if they invite you, and you order the most expensive thing on the menu to show your respect, to the honor, because they can afford to pay for it. They already checked out the restaurant. They already know that, how much it costs. So here in San Francisco, I was invited to a group of Japanese attorneys, and I had kind of forgotten this. And I wasn't feeling so hungry that day, so they wanted me to kind of help them with some communication. These were the Japanese attorneys here in San Francisco. They did international stuff. So, you know, I ordered the cheapest thing in the menu. And, you know, went along the way, totally delightful. And then one of the people who I knew, she says, "You made a mistake. Most important mistake." Well, do you know what you ordered? I wasn't that hungry. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you just only have a small bit of it. You order. This is the kind of thing they talk about, manners and customs, that you the way you are with them in that way. It's really important. I think people look for that personal connection. I mean, we all do that. You know, we all look for that. But it is, for example, if you're in a clinic and they come see me first day, and so I'm off that day. I'm off the next day, and they come back and says, "Oh, I want to see Sean. Where is he? Oh, he's off today. How about see this one over here?" And they get you see the other person, and then they come back next week, and then they see you, and then it's like, wait a minute, like, what kind of carry-on is this, right? And shift around. Not a good idea. When people were doing business in Asia, they learned very quickly. They would send somebody over to make the first connection. Then that person would get a job in another company, and they'd send somebody else over. You lost the deal. When you send the first person over, you better give them a huge bonus to keep them on the job, because if you're going to send them back again, it has to be the same person, because they're more interested in you, not the company or the product. We need to talk. We're going to talk about our family. We're going to talk about things outside of us. You know, like a baseball. You know, baseball is really big in Japan, soccer. They're going to talk about the way you use rice, the chopsticks. Have you done any preparation before you got to Japan? Do you just get your chopstick and stick them right into the rice and have it cocking up at you? It's a very hostile thing to do. Just ruin the sacredness of the rice. You kill the spirit. It's dead food now. Eating it doesn't have that same spirit to feed your spirit. These kind of things. Japanese, and all of them are very forgiving if you don't know, so they kind of help you out. But they want you to not do it again, please. Personal connection. Then trust. I mean, trust is important for all of us. So, for example, when my father died, I was working in this hospital. So I take a trip back to Ireland. I get there, and you know, it's the same carry-on as before when somebody dies. It takes forever to bury them. It takes forever to do something, you know. And it's a whole different, like, we don't really care. We just buy the cheapest casket made of cardboard and just put it on. And but what happened when I got back to work is they had, the people I worked with, got this thing what's called planting a tree for the dead. I never knew this thing existed, never heard of it. I thought, what a lovely thing. And somebody had took the liberty to have a tree planted in his honor. Now that's trust. Wow, that is. This is all of this. Now I'd worked there a few years already, and you know, and so coming and going, and I thought like that really like sealed it. That like made it like this is forever trust. This is like, I told everybody about this, all the names of the people that I work with, and you know, and everything. It's like now, when they go visit you in Ireland, you got to give them a free room and board. You know, bed and breakfast, you know, whatever. It's sort of like now they have full access to all the information of my life. Not till then. Then it's sort of like, ask me anything and I'll tell you. You see what I mean? Like, I come from a small island country, surrounded with water, very vulnerable to everybody who's trying to take it over. But I go to Asia, there's a lot of similarity. You know, this thing about trust, personal connection. You go to the store to buy something, and they explain it to you. You say, I go home and talk about it. You come back, you're looking for the same person because you talked to them before. Oh, they're not here today, but I can help you. Oh, no, it's okay, I'll come back. When do they come back? 2 days. You come back in 2 days. Oh, I don't know, they're not here yet. Well, and so all of a sudden the company is going to lose the sale. You want to, let's say you want to buy a refrigerator, and this was the first person you want to buy, I don't know, whatever. It's that connection that you had with the store when you walked in, the first person you came. You don't want to be sent to another person. So what Asian clients tell me from Japan, China, they go to the therapist. I said, how long? I went once. Why didn't you go back? It was, well, I really can't tell you. Okay. It's really embarrassed. Well, I'll tell you. Well, I just didn't like the way, you know, they had, it just, everything looked kind of sloppy. Everything looked disorganized, and it just got to me. If it's disorganized, like, they must have disorganized mind. How can they help me if they are disorganized mind? I want organized mind to help me. Well, how about going back to second time? I wanted something to walk away with. I wanted something to be told, like, okay, you're having a problem with your daughter, your son about doing their homework. I needed some tip. You know, I needed something that I could go home and tell my husband or wife, I went to the doctor today, and this is what the doctor told me what we could do to help our daughter. That's what they wanted. But it was too late. They walked in, and everything just looked sort of, they were late, you know, I waited, I was there, and I waited, and I waited, it's 2 minutes after, where's the doctor? You know, you lost contact. So do you see like how this kind of thing works even right here in America? When agent they come over and they come to see you, you can experiment on it. You prepare your office. I go to my office an hour before the first client to prepare myself and my office. And to have it in that way, that it is, when they arrive, I'm waiting for them, I invite them, and all my mind and body, and the place around, the walls, the things hanging on the wall, everything is there for them. They are the guest. I am the host. I prepare the meal for them. It's sort of like not said, but it's said. That's how they come back the second time. I mean, you read a lot of literature, why doesn't Asian clients come back second time? Why don't they come back at home? All kinds of theory. I tell you, you keep this in order. Just think about it, and just think like, what is mannerly for you? Is it okay with you to just walk in and you're shipped around from different people? I'll be right with you. In the middle of the conversation, they go onto the phone, you lose the deal. No, the phone has to just ring and ring and ring. It's not important. It's just you and I. Have any of you, I don't know about therapists, they answer the phone when their clients are seeing clients? Any of you heard about that?
No.
Yeah,
Really?
like constantly through the whole thing.
You're kidding me.
The therapist does it, yeah. No, I freak out when the clients do it. No,
Wow, never heard of that.
I think it's rude. It's so rude.
So that's kind of a good example of just, remember that, well, any of us, when we go look for help, we're very vulnerable. We're walking in a different state of mind where, there is like something. Like when I came back from my father's funeral, somebody said, why don't you just go see this guy? I went to see him. It was a horrible experience for me. I walked in, first thing he said, where did you park your car? He had his practice out of his house. And he said, didn't I tell you to park it 2 blocks away? I said, this is like, right away it was a bad experience. I just wanted to leave. But I wanted to be respectful also, just, to pay the person and not to lose out. There's no way I would go back. It was just over. You see, like the story. This is what Asian clients talk about. In that first 6 seconds or whatever it is, how many seconds? So train ourselves to be ready. There was a track coach in San Jose State when I came back from Japan, and he was coaching sprinters. I think he was an English teacher and just took up coaching just as a hobby. He never went to coaching school, he was never an athlete. But what he had a way to teach these athletes, to prepare them to come out of the blocks. And he would say, you win the race before you run the race. And that's what he was training with. So he had almost the entire Olympic team from 60, 64, 68, 72, 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meter relay team that came from San Jose State. These were people that just ordinarily went out, just wanted to run. And they got connected to this guy. And he didn't have like that swanky like start gun. He had 2 pieces of wood and bang them together. Go. That was his starting point. But he had a way to prepare himself just to prepare the athlete. And there was something, and I would watch him. I'd never seen any coach doing like that. And so, in that way, if you think of us as clinicians as connecting with our clients from Asia or anywhere else, to think of that kind of thinking, that this client is coming and I'm ready. I want him to sit here. I dust it off. I clean it. It's like dusting off, cleaning. I'm ready for you. My mind is with you. Oh wow, there is no burnout in that session. You just cannot burn out in that session. But if you say, I don't know how I'm going to manage this one. I hope they speak English. But I hope I understand them. So all these things like I hear people say about that. But this book is about death. But it's about these things and manners after the person died, the manners for the dead, regardless how they die. The manners for the dead. You'll find it wrong for you. You can just use that. But I would recommend it if you're going to be working with Asian clients in grief. It's a long story. It's been printed already quite a while ago, but it's interesting. It's on your bibliography. Thank you. I want to spend just extra time on this kind of thing because this is the starting point. This is where it is for you, you know. So if you go to Japan in business, or you think that with your boss, that you will be the next person to go. And when they get invited over there, you will greet them at the airport, not the CEO of the company. You will be the inviting person to walk beside them and take them through all the experiences to the restaurants and take them all those places and be with them until they leave. Then you got the deal. You got a sale of this. Toyota company, what did the manager do in Toyota company in Nagasaki, Japan? You know, how come they never go on strike and they get paid so little? But they are such a part of that Toyota automobile. He goes and he has lunch with the assembly line people in the cafeteria. Not every day, of course. He's down there with the tray, moving along. He sits just whatever there's a space and just talks. And so suddenly, you know, he has this interaction with his fellow workers. He thinks they are very important, and just the thinking that we're thinking that they're very important.